So back in the end of 2021, like November, December, I did the carnivore diet for a variety of reasons. I had some chronic fatigue issues, I was getting sick a lot, some food intolerances, but the main thing was mental health problems. And self-improvement didn't help my depression. I was living a pretty good life. I had a lot of friends, I was going to the gym, I was eating very healthy already, and I was still depressed. I kept feeling sad, and it wasn't my fault, is what it felt like. I know that's kind of bad to say, but in this case I feel like it's accurate. I was doing everything I could to be happy, and I had everything that I should have to be happy, and I wasn't. So that kind of led me down this path, and it was actually a friend who recommended the carnivore diet to me. He told me about Mikala Peterson, so I looked into her and her story, and then also heard that Jordan, her father, did the exact same thing, and after 2 weeks, he said his clinical depression, I don't remember this, but he said it improved by a lot, right? And I respect him a lot. I respect what he says. So if he says something, he didn't even recommend it, but it worked for him, and so I wanted to try it for myself, right? So I basically just immersed myself in the online culture. I already talked about the Petersons, but I looked into a bunch of other low-carb channels, the Keto crowd, all that stuff on YouTube. I learned a lot. That got me really motivated to actually stick with it and commit to this thing, right? Because I didn't know what else to do. I did not want to stay depressed, so I was committed. Like, there was nothing that was gonna change my diet. I even flew out of state and visited a school at this time. It was rough, but I stuck to the diet. Oh man, imagine eating all meat when you're on the college tour. It was weird. But anyway, so now I'm just going to talk about the timeline. So the first 2 weeks, they sucked, all right? I kind of had the keto flu. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up, but it's kind of like you get some flu symptoms. You just feel low energy and kind of sick. Diarrhea, a lot of that the first 2 weeks. Extreme hunger. I was always hungry, and it's kind of like, I'm sure you all can relate to this. When you're really hungry but you just ate, but you're still hungry, but there's a certain food you can crave. Often it's carbs, often it's sugar, right? So I eat like a huge plate of meat, and then I'm craving fruit and oatmeal and stuff like that, some other filling foods and sweet stuff. So I had that a lot at first. But weeks like 2.5 to after that, from weeks 2.5 on, that's when I really started noticing a big improvement. The first benefit I noticed was my head was clear. I felt like mentally sharp, kind of like, I usually feel pretty clear-headed after a shower or during a shower. It felt like that more throughout the entire day. And then another thing that was really cool is I could eat like 2 pounds, 2.5, maybe 3 pounds if I'm really hungry in one sitting, right? And I would be full for the next 8 to 16 hours, which might not sound great, but like that's insane for me. Normally I'm eating like every 2 hours during every part of the waking day, just because I'm so hungry and I need so many calories. So that was an amazing change for me. The other part was my shits were infrequent. There's no fiber, right? So they're a lot less frequent, and they were perfect. After the the diarrhea and stuff went away, it was perfect. Like, you go, you wipe once, twice if needed, and then you're done. So it definitely saved a lot of time with the constantly preparing food and the going to the bathroom. You eat a lot of fiber, you go like 3 times a day. With this diet, you go maybe once every 2 days, just because there's no fiber in your diet at all. Another benefit, which is pretty cool, I did not expect this, but I had my testosterone. I had it checked before, not right before, but before for some other reason, and then I had it checked at the very end of my carnivore diet. And I'll put up the results, what they were here, but it went up to like 7, almost 800. So that's the highest I've ever seen it, and that was pretty cool. Oh, another thing related to testosterone, possibly, is that when I would work out, even like really hard, and I would go home, go to sleep, wake up, I wouldn't be sore. I was not sore the entire time on that diet, besides the keto flu part. So that was really cool. Oh, and kind of related to that, sleep. I actually needed to sleep less, and I felt better with less sleep. I don't know why that works the way it did, but it felt good. And then kind of going on to the cons. So this was incredibly restrictive, as you can imagine. The diet is boring as fuck. You can eat ground beef and then ribeye if you're rich, right? Just chicken and salt isn't the best. Usually like to have chicken with something, but I would fry chicken and some beef tallow. I would do that sometimes. Otherwise, it's just ground beef. That's kind of all you gotta eat. Ribeyes for dinner. If you can find like a good chunk of meat for a good deal, like Costco or something, I get that too. But dude, it's expensive. Especially ribeyes are like $14 a pound. Another con is the adaptation period. It's like 2 weeks, and you're just, it sucks. I don't know what else to say. You gotta push through it. You have to be committed to it. Oh, electrolyte imbalance. Your body's still learning how to process this new diet, right? So some levels in your body, hormones like melatonin, you might get some mood swings. Your electrolytes will be off. And that's something I noticed. I had to supplement with electrolytes during the first couple weeks, because like some diets, sometimes my whole body would just ache, and I'd get some electrolytes, and then within 30 minutes I'd feel better. It's crazy. So that's something you definitely need to look into if you want to try this. Get some electrolytes that you can supplement on. And the last one is that, this diet is bad for you in the long term. It is. If you look at a good portion of the data revolving around the perfect diet for humans, or the optimal diet for humans, is a whole foods plant-based diet. This is not a whole foods plant-based diet, is it? No. It's all meat. So I understand why it works in the short term. You're eliminating everything. Every possible food that could be causing a reaction within your gut is removed. So you feel a lot better. This isn't good for your heart. This isn't good for stuff like that, but it gets rid of all the things that could be causing problems within your gut instantly. Not instantly, but within a very short period of time. So you feel how you normally should feel without all the toxins, being absorbed through your gut, right? So that's why it works. Long term, it's very unhealthy. So if you want to actually adopt this or try this out, do this little experiment, here's what I recommend. So first, immerse yourself in the keto carnivore culture on the internet. Just obsess over it. Don't look at any plant-based diet stuff right now. You can do that later. Right now, obsess over the carnivore stuff, okay? Because that's what's really gonna motivate you to get into this. I know this is normally bad advice, but only look at one side of the argument. Because if you're looking at both, you're gonna be confused. You're not gonna know what to do. And then when you're really feeling like shit in the first couple of days, you're gonna give up because you're not sure what to do. Just focus on one thing. Don't look at anything else for the time being. All right, second, pick a time when you're not traveling. Like I mentioned before, I went on a trip out of state. So only do it when you're gonna be at home and you know what your schedule's gonna be. That's a huge, huge part of this. All right, third, commit to a month. So no matter what happens, commit to a month. Even if you feel like shit by week 2.5 to 3, my experience is gonna be different from yours. You might feel better or worse at different times. So commit to 1 month, and you should be able to have a reasonable conclusion. Next is don't include dairy or eggs. Often people do include these in the beginning, but I think it's a bad idea because although it is animal-based, a lot of people have dairy and egg allergies, right? If you want to get the most eliminative, I don't know if that's the right word, but if you want to remove the most things, just do beef, salt, and water, and then maybe a couple of spices. Don't include dairy or eggs, because that could be a possible trigger that you don't know about. And then after a month, just kind of reassess where you're at and start adding in foods one at a time and see how they feel. And don't add everything back at once, because I guarantee you won't feel good, and then you don't know what it was. It often takes like 4 or 5 days or 2 weeks, because that's when you start feeling better on the carnivore diet, to actually reset. So start introducing one thing at a time, and you will be able to slowly start adding things back without having too much reaction. All right, so that's it. There is a subreddit I'd recommend looking into called Zero Carb. They are a bit cult-like, so if you recommend anything against it, they'll ban you. That happened to me. I gave my experience and told them I quit. I didn't quit, but I started eating fruit, and my post got removed. But anyway, besides that, this is good for this. Remember, like I said before, look into the subreddit. There's a lot of good information, and they're very helpful when you ask questions. So I'd look into that. Otherwise, if you have any other questions, you can leave them down below like usual.